Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Phumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. We hope you still are staying indoors and keeping safe and leaving the house only if you really have to. It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you about the Protection of Personal Information Act, or that's POPI, as some of its parts are coming into effect in July. We are asking you how much you value the fact that it is coming into effect. Results of that are coming up later in the program. But first of all, here's what's coming up tonight. We look at the drop in smartphone sales. We have details about emojis that are coming out of Ivory Coast. These ones honor refugees. And our discussion is looking at the switch from websites to apps. A lot of factories have been shut in China. This is due to COVID-19 lockdowns. This has also resulted in a drop of smartphone sales here in South Africa and other parts of the world as well.
The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a slowdown in smartphone sales in Q1 of 2020. This is according to a report released by research and consulting firm International Data Corporation.
By looking at it now, we then had this coronavirus outbreak, which kind of messed out the entire supply chain. So just to start with how it all played out. So most South African, especially when you're looking at it from South Africa, most vendors, they get their stock a bit early, preparing for the disruptions that are going to happen because of the Chinese New Year. So at least they had something at hand. But then we then look at what then happened now. The factories closing in China, even so the bigger vendors like your Apple, your Huawei, even cutting their expectations for the year 2020. So the closure that side then led to sort of, I wouldn't say it's a shortage per se, it's just it enlarged the decline that we then saw, which is the quarter-on-quarter decline which we then saw. Because if you look at your biggest vendor in Africa, it's Transsion for both smartphones and feature phones, and they had closed down for production, and we saw a big decline in their units.
Even during these economical uncertain times, plagued with job losses and loss of income for many homes, Samsung seems to be doing surprisingly well, as depicted on this table.
Samsung has seen a really significant increase in our sales for this year, and we attribute that a lot towards the relevant innovations that we brought within our smartphone category. For example, we brought in an A series, which we call a localized, not just in J phone, but an awesome phone that's got an awesome camera, awesome screen, and awesome battery. That allows us to bring in flagship innovations at an affordable price, and that's why we're so excited about what we did for this year.
Another contributing factor to declines such as this one is the lack of local smartphone manufacturers.
So this is a moment for us to diversify, and even for countries like South Africa, this is a moment. Like last year there was a launch for a company that just opened yet, for us to start supporting these startup companies and give them the resources that they need, so that we know it's easy for us to close borders when we have such things. Right now, to be honest with you, we're still getting a lot of things coming in, but it's not as easy as it used to be. But once you have,
IDC also adds that this decline will not end anytime soon.
The levels that we've hit, these declines, are probably going to be with us for some quite, or for some time. We are going to see this as maybe this is our new normal, as they say now. So we might start seeing that this is going to change the trajectory of how things are going to work. Maybe if we see more people working from home, it's an opportunity for the vendors to use and try and develop whatever the products that they're offering in such a way that they are able to help with working from home. And I think just from what we're expecting, maybe we'll see again an increase in tablets, because they make your life a bit easy. To do your work on a phone, it's a bit challenging.
South African telecoms firm Telecom made headlines on their 70% drop in annual earnings. The company says that the decline in fixed voice revenue is one of the major reasons for this outcome. Our attempts to speak to Telecom regarding the performance of their smartphone sales proved fruitless.
There used to be a time when emojis that we use when we communicate on our mobile devices did not represent black Africans. That soon changed. There's even a further change now, as someone from the Ivory Coast has created emojis that honor refugees.
Ivorian artist Gribet has created a special 2020 World Refugee Day emoji. The World Refugee Day is marked on 20 June each year to celebrate the courage and resilience of the tens of millions of people forced to flee their homes. The 22-year-old made headlines in 2019 after creating 365 emojis, one for each day of the year, inspired by African culture and meant to change the way people see the continent. The 2020 World Refugee Day emoji shows two hands linked together in the shape of a heart.
J'espère qu'avec cet emoji, je vais arriver à inspirer les gens à s'accepter malgré leurs différences et avancer ensemble.
The young artist was named in Forbes Africa 30 under 30 list of young men and women forging the continent's future with creative and innovative ideas. The emoji comes with the World Refugee Day hashtag in several languages and aims to bring attention to the plight of the refugees and displaced people.
Je m'appelle Oplérou, j'ai 22 ans et je suis artiste et graphiste ivoirien.
The artist says he would like to recreate his Ivorian emojis in 3D. If all goes well and the coronavirus goes away, he plans to travel to Kenya, Rwanda and South Africa to discover other cultures and create emojis for them.
Now, when you think of runway models, you imagine humans who are live and have blood in them strutting their stuff on runways. But now there are South Africans who have created a runway model who is actually digital.
Invisible models strutting down a digital catwalk. Internationally, shows for global brands like Gucci, Prada and others have been put off the fashion calendar given the grim reality of coronavirus. However, this is the best time to let one's creative flag fly high. South African designers created the country's first virtual model, Kim Zulu.
We were toying with the idea of finding a unique influencer that could align themselves with our brand, one of the brands that I'm aligned to. So we then thought to ourselves, wouldn't it be interesting, because we're kind of entering the 2020, the future, wouldn't it be interesting if we created somebody who was virtual and somebody that we could sort of guide as to the direction we want to take.
Kim Zulu showcased her first digital clothing collection at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week in Russia.
Russia Fashion Week, which was actually titled Global Digital Talents, which took place in Russia, was a group of, basically what they did was they got a group of international designers, digital designers, as well as virtual humans to participate in this event. It was the first of its kind, and we as Kim Zulu represented South Africa for the first time.
When the lockdown meant US-based Congolese designer Anifa Mwemba's debut was cancelled at this year's New York Fashion Week, she also decided to get creative.
Is home, on their phones. This is like the best time to do this.
Last month, she held a virtual show for her latest collection, Pink Label Congo.
It was going to be something cool, but we didn't know it was going to blow up the way that it did. We were not prepared for this at all.
Mwemba, who says her collection is inspired by the clothes worn in her native country, was already working with 3D animation to design her pieces and do remote photo shoots. These designers plan to work in the same format again, but they also want to see their designs showcased on a physical runway.
It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we chat about the switch from websites to applications and look at the future of the internet as a result of that.
From Shawela. So as ndiko shoma security ndinga outfit that's good is SABC ziko dorugisiwa ndaba na interest ore ezithu ezizo ndi Jeneka radio ndingazwitisana then ndatangana na this guy over technician yawone SABC na yambutso no mfethu thomani ngazitsuku then ni doura ni swike somewhere. Today ndiko rana an online radio station which is called Shawela Radio to make difference and to bring change ka community yasho.
Unless we directly target patriarchy, we will never deal with the scourge of gender-based violence.
Challenge other men to play their part in ending gender-based violence and never look away when they should act.
Madoda asiphakameni, let's stand up, let's get rid of this scourge that is decimating our society.
About 20 years ago, there used to be what used to be called the dot-com boom. Africans largely missed that, but a lot of money was made in other parts of the world as people created websites to do all kinds of things. 20 years ago, there was something called the dot-com bubble. Africa largely missed this as we saw that a lot of people overseas and a lot of businesses were taking advantage of what was happening with the internet. Why did Africa miss this dot-com bubble?
So Africa may have missed the dot-com bubble 20 years ago primarily because access to the internet and access to an actual computer was very expensive and devices were hard to come by.
Africa is often referred to as the first mobile-first continent. Why do you think this continent picked up the internet on the mobile device and not on the desktop?
Africa is often called the first mobile-first continent. I do think that the future of the internet is definitely in Africa, primarily because we are a young continent. The penetration of mobile devices and the pricing of mobile devices is making it easier to access.
Yes. And do you think that Africa will change or perhaps is changing its trajectory of being a consumer on the internet and perhaps start creating what the internet will eventually become or is becoming?
We need to make sure that we are not just consumers on the other side by making sure that we are at the forefront of developing solutions that speak to African problems in a way that shows our deep understanding of what African challenges are. We need to make sure that we are contributing to data by participating across the board in terms of producing content on the internet.
There are African governments who block the internet in parts from time to time. What are your views on that?
The fact that we are online, it means that people have more voices and that they're able to participate in conversations, especially around democracy, around conflicts, around the kind of political leadership that we want. And we have seen experiences where African governments try to censor whether it's the media or activists, and I would even go as far as saying that we will see this trend continuing, but it's an opportunity for us as Africans to show solidarity. Where we can, we should push more for censorship to fall, so to speak.
What do you think the future of the internet is, and what role will Africa play in that?
I think it is the responsibility of all Africans to contribute where they can and how they can. It's a responsibility of our government to make sure that we support the development of tech corporations that are truly African and who are dedicated to building African solutions.
How have social media networks changed the way you utilize the web or the internet, and how have they given you perhaps the power to do things yourselves?
What the mobile phone has done for Africans now who don't have access to desktop, it means that they have access to news on the go. It means that they have a powerful information tool in their hands. It also means that they have a powerful voice where they can, you can take a picture, you can take a video of an injustice, you can report things, you can tell a story, you can capture your environment where you are at any point in time. And in the future, it also means that with Africa as a young continent, we are now growing. Our children are growing up in a space where they're exposed to technology, even if it's via mobile. It means that by the time they reach school-going and working ages, they'll already have a certain level of proficiency when it comes to interacting with digital and technology. What this evolution has done for the marketing and communications industry is that it means that we now have more platforms. We can get a little bit more personal with people because we are speaking to them via their mobile device. So it means that we have had to develop ways to connect with customers in a far more honest, and it requires us to be a little bit more vulnerable in the way that we communicate with people, so that the content is a little bit more personalized than the traditional previous era of communicating that was a little bit disconnected from people. So it has really changed the way that we speak to customers. It has really changed the way that brands are kept to account around their involvement as well in social justice issues. People are able to hold brands accountable directly, and also most importantly, we are able to receive immediate feedback on the content that we put out to customers.
Thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Politics. All 14 political parties in South Africa represented in Parliament have put their political and ideological... The economy.
There is no need for us to be using unconventional tools at the moment.
Current affairs.
The National Coronavirus Command Council has decided to enforce a nationwide lockdown.
There are no waters we won't charter on your behalf. Good evening, I'm Aldrin St-Pierre, and this is Unfiltered. Join the discourse on Unfiltered every Monday at 8:30 on SABC 3 as well as Channel 404.
Unless we directly target patriarchy, we will never deal with the scourge of gender-based violence.
Challenge other men to play their part in ending gender-based violence and never look away when they should act.
Madoda asparapeni, let's stand up. Let's get rid of this scourge that is decimating our society.
It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za. On email, welcome back. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
A new high-tech tool has joined the race to save more of the world's most endangered species, a robot sloth. The sloth bot, as it's known, is undergoing tests high up in the canopy of Atlanta Botanical Gardens Canopy Walk, monitoring and measuring slowly.
The sloth bot is unlike any other robot out there. It's a hyper energy efficient robot that lives amongst the trees and helps us do things like environmental monitoring and conservation work by just being present amongst the trees, measuring interesting things in the world around it.
The robot is programmed to move only when necessary and will locate sunlight when its batteries need recharging. It seems we will be bidding farewell to the Segway, that is according to media reports, saying that Segway will cease production of its famous original two-wheeler that was launched in 2001. The Segway PT will stop production on July 15th of 2020. The once popular vehicle, used by tourist groups and security guards, has had a spate of high-profile accidents. Invented by Dean Kamen, the self-balancing Segway scooter was made famous by then US President George W. Bush when he took one for a spin in 2003, only to jump off after losing control.
Certain aspects of the Protection of Personal Information Act are coming into effect next month, that is in July. So our Twitter poll this week is asking you whether you really care that your personal information is private and not shared by those that have it with anybody else. 87% of you say yes, you do care who accesses your information. There's 5% of those who responded to our poll who say no. And 7% of you say you need more information about Poppy. It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. From Ms. Pumelele Zondi and the rest of the team, have a good one. Stay home and stay safe.
Politics.